Hello, my name is Daniel Murphy, and I will be interviewing Jack Goodwin, a citizen who has grown up and spent his whole life in a rural community. How are you today, Jack?
Yeah, good, thanks, Dan, and I'm very pleased to have you come and have a talk to me about rural life.
So, what has it been like growing up in a rural community?
Look, it's been very good. In a rural community, you have to get involved with lots of groups because there's not as many people as like in the city or in the major towns in Victoria or wherever. You have to be involved with your schools, and you have to be involved with sporting groups, otherwise they just don't function. The better that you get involved with them and pitch in with everybody else, you get to meet people. The kids get to meet people and create friendships, and it just sort of follows on from there. So you just have to be a team player as such.
So, you've been involved in a few groups over the years. Could you please tell me some of the groups that you've been involved in this rural community?
Yeah, look, when I was a kid at school, obviously involved with the school teams, and then as I grew up, you graduate to the local sporting teams like football teams and tennis teams and cricket teams and whatever. And of course, you have to be involved with how those games function on the day, like bring afternoon teas or be involved with the committees that run them. So. Sporting groups are probably a pretty important one. I was involved in Young Farmers as a young person. That's how I met my wife. And the CFA, of course, had a lot of publicity lately with the fires from a couple of years ago, but that's something that's extremely important to defend the district in times of trouble, be they floods or fires or whatever comes about. So other groups are sort of... And as their kids grew up, you get involved with schools again. You have to be on the committees that run schools. The parents have a very big part to play in how rural schools run these days. You have to do budgets and working bees and all sorts of things. So that's sort of... and as you get older, you get involved with bowls and all that sort of stuff too. So you have to be part of everything that goes on.
So, what do you think the advantage is for your family and you having grown up in a rural community instead of growing up in the city?
Well, as I said, like last time, you have to be involved with all the groups, and that sort of creates opportunities to be presidents of committees or treasurers or whatever, or and all sorts of things from that point of view. So you get to sort of do different jobs as such. Sometimes you're a treasurer of an accountant sort of thing with a community group. And you have to do lots of different tasks because there's just not as many people in the country, so you have to, if you don't do it, the group doesn't survive. So that's sort of how that part goes.
And do you see your family being closer because you've grown up in a farming community, working together on the farm?
Oh, definitely. Farms are really, and most of them are involved with families in the past, not so much so in the future, but that's just the way the world's going. But everyone in the family that grows up on a farm has to be able to drive the tractor or cut the wood or strain a fence or feed the dogs or do all that sort of stuff. And having to do that means you work together with your sons and your daughters and your sisters and your wives and all that sort of stuff. And you have to get on together. Otherwise the jobs get done and the farm doesn't make any money. So being forced to do that actually is a good thing because it creates a lot of... sort of cooperation and sort of understanding of people with different skills and all that sort of stuff. So it's a really strong character building thing if it's done well. Sometimes it's not, of course, in some circumstances, but everyone tries to do their best. But it is very good character building growing up in a rural community in a sort of semi-farming type one.
Now, everyone says things are better in the good old days, but what do you think's changed for the better and strengthened your community?
Look, there's lots of things. Technology, phones, internets, the ability to do your banking without leaving the house these days is a tremendous thing because that was always a trip to the town to get money every week or pay your bills or whatever that goes on. So that's a great improvement. Transports, I mean, the roads have all got better in my lifetime. One time it used to take about nearly 5 hours to get to Melbourne from here. Now you can do it in 2. So you can sort of be part of the city environment too, and you can go to sporting games, watch the AFL or the cricket or the tennis or whatever, or go to the theatre. It's not as far away, it's still the same distance away, but as far as time and the able to access those things, it's a lot easier now. And we've had a fair bit of tourism coming into this area in the past 20 odd years with wineries and that sort of stuff. So that all creates a different exposure to different people that come and visit those, and good for local shops. You have a few little other events that go on there that also bring people together, sort of at different times of the grape harvest, with sort of festivals and that sort of stuff. So that's all a good thing too. The more people you get in through the area is always good, because you get a different. You don't fall behind the way that the people in cities live.
And one final question: do you think your life would have been any different had you grown up in a city?
Oh, I think definitely. I did have a bit of a sort of. We lived close to the city when I was a young fella. We moved to this part of the world when I was about 15. And the families in the city find it a lot harder to sort of find time for each other. The city life is far more fast-paced than the country one from that point of view. Not that we're not busy and we haven't got lots of work to do, but you do sort of have time to sort of sit back and take stock of it a bit more often. And with not so many things for the people to do, you tend to see a lot more of your family in the country and sort of work together with them. So yeah, that's probably the main thing. I'd say it'd be a lot harder to have a really close family, sort of not having worked so much together like you do in the city. But look, people in the city do it well too, but I would just prefer to have grown up in a rural area. I think it has a lot of advantages.
All right, well, thanks for your time, Jack. I really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Well, I hope it's answered a few questions, Dan, and you obviously well understand what I'm talking about, so that's good.
Thank you.
Good on you, Dan.